Next article is another great one from the Content Marketing Institute. Your best content campaign got the axe. How to save the work that matters. So I thought this was fascinating because essentially what it's trying to do here is give actionable advice for in-house teams or agency teams or whomever that essentially creates content, maybe longer form content that took a lot of effort and work. So a scenario is you create a white paper, and the white paper is a nice shiny new object of research and data. You spent a lot of resources, developing it, developing the graphics, laying it out, having it look great, determining if it's going to be gated or ungated, look at what KPIs you need, all of this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden it's working gangbusters, accomplishing your goals, doing well, and then it doesn't. And it gets outdated, right? And then it just gets kind of thrown on the shelf somewhere. And then you move on to the next shiny new object. So this article is essentially trying to give actionable advice, which I thought was great, about how to protect your assets, your content assets, and how to use them in the future, and then communicate that to management, to the C-suite to say, hey, we invested this amount of time. Maybe let's not shelve it completely. Maybe let's reuse parts of it elsewhere here or another place here. So I thought this was great. We often help our clients with content recycling and reusing older content. Rewrite it, change the title, change URL structure, add some micro content to it, swap out the photo if the photo looks dated, right? Like there's things you can do to revitalize a piece of content that maybe is stale and ineffective, especially if you've invested so much in your content over the years, and a lot of companies do. It doesn't make sense to just throw it away and discard it. So I thought this was a great piece at the Content Marketing Institute. Really recommend folks checking it out. So Catherine, John, what do you think on that?
In a way, this article to me also validates why it is important to have transparency with your leadership.
Yep.
About what is going on with your content and stuff. Because when they're making budgeting decisions, trying to decide what to axe and what not to axe, if marketing had been in a silo and they don't know what's going on, they're going to just be like, oh yeah, we don't need the blog. And they're just going to not budget for it anymore out of the blue. But if they are kept in the loop about what marketing does and why it's important, then your content is not going to get the axe because they're going to understand why it's needed. So when you're putting together a campaign for content or for anything else in digital marketing, keeping people in the loop about why it's important will prevent your budget from getting canceled.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I really agree with sort of recycling content in different ways. Because, you've spent the time, like maybe Catherine said, to write a ton of blogs, and now that's getting axed. Maybe that won't be accessible to people anymore. Well, as long as you still have it, you can use those blogs to maybe make social media posts. Maybe you can make videos, explainers, stuff like that. That might be that shiny, new object to whoever is, making those decisions in the end. So yeah, keeping that whatever content you're making, and then finding ways to sort of recycle them a whole bunch is such a good way to make sure that all of that work doesn't go to waste.